The first plasma cutter kissed the habitat door, and Nora didn't even look up. She just sighed, stirred the stew, and said, "If that's another delivery drone, tell it I'm not tipping." The door screamed as molten metal ran like wax. Outside, 36 Zerinthian shock troopers stood in perfect formation, rifles up, mandibles clicking with the confidence of an empire that had never been told no by anyone small. Commander Vexer watched from orbit, pleased with himself. One isolated human on the fringe colony of Kepler 438b. No weapon signatures. No turrets. No defense grid. Just a modest habitat dome and a few agricultural plots. A soft target. A final warning ignored. So the Zerinthian Empire had sent death squads to reclaim resources. They didn't know the truth. Nora's dome didn't need defenses. Nora already had them. Inside, the kitchen light was warm and low. A wooden spoon moved in steady circles through a massive pot of stew, thick, fragrant, and perfectly timed. Nora's hair was pulled into a practical bun. Her apron red, in faded print. Galaxy's best cat mom. She had been trying to enjoy one quiet dinner on a quiet world. That was the entire point of retiring here. Then the dome sensors chirped. Not the alarm. The "someone is being rude" alert. Nora kept stirring. "Nora," she called, voice calm. "VERIC. Dinner's almost ready." From the shadows of the habitat, two shapes emerged. They moved like liquid darkness, paws silent on the metal floor. To an earthborn human, they looked like cats. To a sane person, they looked like a reason to back away slowly. Nora was larger, her fur midnight black with silver streaks that shimmered when she breathed. VERIC was leaner, copper-toned, eyes bright as molten amber. Both were big enough to make a grown human reconsider their life choices. Both were also, very clearly, waiting for permission. They stopped beside Nora's kitchen island and Saturday. Perfect posture. Perfect discipline. Like two enormous house cats pretending they weren't built out of ancient nightmares. Nora nodded at them approvingly. "Good," she murmured. "No stealing. No tasting. We are civilized." Nora's whiskers twitched. VERIC's tail flicked once. Outside, the habitat door finally gave way. Beta squad poured through the breach, rifles raised, boots hitting the floor in heavy rhythm. Their leader, Chryson, scanned the room. "Negative contact," he reported. "Proceeding to." He never finished. Nora hit him like a living meteor. The shock trooper had time to blink. Then Nora heard it, a clean, decisive snap. Not gore. Not screaming. Just the sound of a problem being solved. Cyan's biosign flatlined in 1.3 seconds. 12 Zerinthians froze as their leader disappeared under a black blur and a single, satisfied rumble. Their comms exploded. Contact. Threat. What is that? VERIC dropped from above. He didn't leap so much as appear. A copper shadow, landing on a rifle barrel, using it as a stepping stone, and springing into the center of the squad like this was a game he had invented. For the first 10 seconds, the Zerinthians tried to fight like professionals. They formed a line. They aimed. They fired. But Nora and VERIC didn't move like creatures who were supposed to exist. They moved like instinct. A paw slapped a plasma rifle aside as if it were a toy. A shoulder check sent an 8-foot trooper skidding into a wall. A tail flick tripped 2 soldiers at once. And then the worst part, the part that turned fear into terror. Nora and VERIC didn't finish them fast. They played. Not with cruelty. With the simple feline certainty that nothing in the room could stop them. So why rush? Beta squad lasted 4 minutes. The survivors tried to fall back. They never reached the door. When Alpha squad breached the south entrance, they walked into silence. Scorched wall panels. Dropped weapons. The clean smell of hot metal. And then they saw it. Cyan's helmet sat in the center of the room. Nora batted it across the floor. VERIC batted it back. Like kittens. Like babies. like something that had no idea it was supposed to be afraid of an empire. Alpha's commander lifted his rifle with shaking hands. "Requesting immediate backup," he transmitted. "We have a Class 7 threat situation." "Repeat." "Class 7. Nora appeared in the doorway with wooden spoons still in her hands. She looked small. Ordinary. Almost gentle. She looked like someone you could underestimate, right up until you noticed the calm. "And the cats." Nora's gaze slid to Nora and VERIC. "Nora," she said mildly. "VERIC. Leave some for later." Both giant cats paused, mid-stalk. They looked at Nora like children caught with cookies. Nora tilted her head toward the kitchen. "Your stew is getting cold." The Alpha commander made the fatal mistake of pointing his rifle at her. Nora didn't flinch. But VERIC did something else. He crossed 30 meters in less than a second. The rifle fired once. A plasma bolt screamed toward Nora. And stopped. Not because it hit armor. Because a paw intercepted it in mid-flight. Not a shield. Not a field. Just a paw moving faster than the Zerinthian commander's brain could process. Superheated matter splashed harmlessly against reinforced padding. Then VERIC's head turned slowly, and his eyes locked onto the Alpha commander with a look that said, "You aimed at my human." 15 shock troopers learned what it meant to be prey. Nora didn't watch the details. She didn't need to. She turned back into her kitchen, stepping over a severed mandible like it was a misplaced tool. She checked the stew. Added a pinch of salt. Then she ladled generous portions into 2 industrial-sized bowls. By the time she set them on the feeding platform, the dome was quiet again. Nora and VERIC padded in like nothing had happened. Their whiskers were messy. Their ears were perked. Their posture was pleased. They sat in front of their bowls and waited. Because Nora had trained them that dinner was dinner. Nora set the bowls down. "Eat," she said. They ate with delicate manners that did not match their size. VERIC paused to sneeze. He always did when the paprika was a touch strong, then went right back to eating like a polite monster. "Good cubs," Nora murmured, scratching behind Nora's ear. Nora purred. The sound was deep and steady, like a ship's engine idling. On the Zerinthian flagship in orbit, Commander Vexer stared at his screens in mounting horror. 36 biosigns extinguished. The tactical feed had gone dark. The last transmission was mostly screaming. "What?" his second whispered, voice thin, "is down there?" Vexer didn't answer in time. A message burst through on all frequencies. Audio only. A human woman's voice, calm and almost friendly. "This is Nora Kale of Kepler 438b, she said. There was a pause long enough for the entire bridge crew to feel the weight of it. "You interrupted our dinner." Another pause. "I'm only going to say this once. Leave this system. And never return. If you send anyone else, I won't call them off." A softer note entered her voice, the kind you used on children. "And gentlemen, they haven't had dessert yet." A new exterior feed clicked on. 2 enormous shapes sat in the twilight outside the dome. Side by side. Still. Watching the sky. Their eyes gleamed in the dark, reflecting the lights of the Zerinthian ships like 2 patient stars. Waiting. Commander Vexer, who had conquered worlds, made the smartest decision of his career. "Recall all forces," he ordered. "Plot jump coordinates for home territory. Maximum speed." "But Commander, our orders are now revised," Vexer snapped. "Mark this system as forbidden space. Hazard level, extinction." The Zerinthian fleet jumped to hyperspace. And on the ground, Nora did something even more terrifying to an empire. She brought out dessert. 2 massive bowls of cream-based pudding with a drizzle of something sweet that made VERIC's ears perk like he'd just heard a sacred hymn. Nora chirped. Yes, chirped, an absurdly cute sound for a creature that could throw a shock trooper like a toy. They ate dessert with perfect manners. Then, later, when the world was quiet again, Nora stepped onto her porch with a cup of tea. Nora and VERIC dozed beside her, overfed and content. Occasionally, one paw twitched as if chasing something in a dream. Nora stared up at the peaceful sky. "Good cubs," she whispered again. She didn't say it like a commander praising weapons. She said it like a tired woman talking to family. "Very good cubs." Weeks later, the Galactic Council asked humanity why they had chosen that world for settlement. Why place a civilian with two unofficial strategic assets on a border the Zerinthian Empire had been expanding toward? The human ambassador smiled, as if it were the simplest question in the universe. "Nora needed somewhere quiet to retire," she said. "And the cats needed room to play." The council never asked why the Zerinthian Empire suddenly abandoned their outer spiral expansion. Some questions were better left unanswered. And in the darkness between stars, dozens of species updated their threat databases with one new line. Humans. Caution advised. Assessment. Forms pack bonds with apex predators. Recommendation. Do not disturb during meal times. Because the Zerinthian Empire learned the hard way what humans had known for millennia. Never underestimate the creature a human calls pet. If you want more wild HFY like this, subscribe to HFY Survival Arena. Because next time, the cubs might answer the door themselves.